Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is our mini social media bootcamp. My name is Miliha Zajkovic, and I'm the head of product marketing here at CharityEngine. With me, I also have Kiersten Hill, director of nonprofit solution at Firespring. Kiersten, welcome. How are you?
Hello, I am great. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, I'm very glad you're here. You and I met a while ago, I know, virtually, and then we ran into each other, I think, at NEO conference in Dallas.
Yeah.
And I remember being very impressed with you and Firespring, particularly around some of the website solutions that you guys offer for small to mid-sized nonprofits, which I know you're going to touch on later. But I'm especially excited about today's topic on social media, as I think this is one of the areas where many nonprofits should focus on. But I think a lot of times it's the thing that gets deprioritized due to other priorities. And so I think a lot of the teams that I speak with are busy, stretched too thin. So I'm glad that we're having today's session as a way not only to help those who are here to get some tips, but also to kind of re-energize folks and inspire them to think of social media as hopefully a strong channel for donor engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's the goal. This is not going to be an in-depth. We're going to kind of skim the surface of a lot of different things today and go from there.
Fabulous. All right. Well, I'm going to pass it over to you in a moment, but I did want to take just 2 minutes to introduce CharityEngine for anybody that's not familiar with us. We are a unified fundraising platform in CRM. Our claim to fame are two things. Number one being that everything that you see in this wheel is native to our platform, meaning that it is a core part of CharityEngine. I know there's a lot of solutions in the marketplace, a lot of consolidation, acquisition happening in the nonprofit CRM space. CharityEngine is a little different. Everything that we offer is built in. And so what that means for you is that you have one system where you can truly see any way that you might be engaging with your donors. And that not only makes things easy as far as generating reports, usability for your team, but ultimately allows you to really know your donors. And once you know them, you can engage with them more effectively. The other part, I said two things. So that's number one. Number two is we're really strong in monthly giving space. This is an area where we have deep expertise, particularly relating to our subscription billing technology. I know a lot of times when it relates to monthly giving programs, we're talking about subscription economy, subscription giving. So CharityEngine has been really kind of at the forefront of the industry here when we think about what the for-profit space is doing in subscription economy and really taking those best practices and applying them to the nonprofit space and monthly giving programs. And so what that means for a lot of our customers is very strong retention rates, really strong collection rates. So if you are in the market for or considering a new nonprofit CRM or fundraising platform, and these two things are meaningful for you, I invite you to check us out. All right, that's my shameless plug for CharityEngine. Kiersten, over to you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, my name is Kiersten Hill. As Miliha said, I am the Director of Nonprofit Solutions at Firespring. There is all of my contact information, so you can reach me via phone. You can send a carrier pigeon, just kidding. You can find me on the internet. The easiest way to connect with me is actually probably LinkedIn because it automatically comes straight to me. You don't have to go through anybody else. So if you're interested, all my contact information is there. You can also scan that QR code if you would like to receive a copy of today's slide deck and the accompanying workbook that we have available and information from Firespring. You can scan that, follow the prompts, and that'll get you signed up. If you want to wait until I'm done today to see if you like me and then decide if you want to scan that QR code, I'll bring it back at the end. So a little bit of information about who Firespring is. So Firespring is located in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm coming to you today from right outside of Lincoln, Nebraska. We also have another office in Omaha, Nebraska, and we have a small walk-up printing shop in Council Bluffs, Iowa. But Firespring has clients in all 50 states in the United States. And right now, I think we're in 8 international countries. So we always say that Firespring does a whole lot from right here in the middle of everywhere. As a company, we provide strategic guidance activated through creative solutions in marketing, printing, and technology. So we have a solution in each of those areas, but our goal is always to help businesses and nonprofits to prosper. We are the first certified B Corporation in the state of Nebraska, something that not a ton of people know about. And so we're really proud of that. And we're very committed to leveraging our people, our product, and our profit to do more good. Okay, so today I am going to do a mini social media bootcamp. And the reason I say mini is because I actually offer a full social media bootcamp, which is 2 days, an hour and a half each day. And I've taken some of that content and kind of smooshed it together and maybe, cut the bottom out of some of it. We're just going to skim over a few things that I think are really important for kind of helping you to build a framework and give you some guidelines around social media. If you are interested in the full-blown spiel, let me know, and I can always get you signed up. I think we've got a full social media bootcamp coming up in, let's see, this is April, coming up in May sometime, I think, and that is a 2-day commitment. So if you're, 3 hours over 2 days. So if you're interested, let me know. Today, here's what we're going to cover: what to post and why. We're going to talk a little bit about the concept of content pillars, how you set some goals, and what metrics you can track in order to determine if your social media is effective. I'm going to go over some practical ways that you can increase engagement, and engagement is the name of the game. Then we're going to talk about building community as a part of social media. I will have 5 tips for you to optimize your social presence. And then I'm, as with all of our content at Firespring, I'm going to wrap up by reviewing just some action steps, things that you can take from today's content and implement immediately to, get you on the right track and get things moving from today's content. I will leave a few minutes at the end for Q&A. So if you have those questions, throw them in the chat or in the questions area, and we will come back and visit those at the end. If you happen to like posting on social media about your experience in watching a session, you can use the hashtag powered by purpose. You can tag us at Firespring, and don't forget to tag our friends at CharityEngine. And if you don't know how to post on social or what a hashtag is, you're probably in the right place. So we're in good shape. Okay. So my first question is, I want to know, how social media savvy are you? So the first, are you like, what is Facebook? This is, you're the very, very beginning kind of social media user. Maybe you're a frequent scroller, first time poster, like you're just dipping your toe in. You're, kind of getting comfortable, but maybe not, 100%. So you can leave this in the chat. Are you an A, a B, a C? Is Instagram is my jam. So like you kind of check on Facebook, you're into Instagram, you're what I would call like the intermediate skill level. Or D, you're a TikTok mega influencer. Like you could be teaching this boot camp. So where are you at? It looks like we have a lot of Instagram is my jam, folks. A few B level. Ooh, I got one CD. Nice, Noelle. Impressive. You can let me know if you have any tips to add to the suggestions at the end. Okay, awesome. This is fantastic. I've got a couple of TikTok influencers. I love that. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is just some info about why we're talking social media. Why is it important that as an organization you have a social media strategy? Well, first of all, 2 hours and 16 minutes is the average amount of time every day, daily, that people spend on social media. 5.66 billion is currently the number of active social media users worldwide. And 6.75 is the average number of platforms that people are using every month. And when I first saw that statistic, I was like, there's no way people are using that many platforms. Well, then I started thinking about myself and what I use. I am on LinkedIn at least 5 days a week. Actually, now I play those games, like those dumb puzzle games. I'm addicted to the ones on LinkedIn. It's ridiculous. So now I'm on it 7 days a week. So LinkedIn, that's why they do it, right? That's why they give us those games. Then I am on Facebook pretty much every day because, you know, my hair is gray and that's where gray hair people go to play on social media. I'm on Instagram. I am on TikTok. I have a 17-year-old. If I want him to come to dinner, I have to send him a Snapchat. I have a bunch of recipes saved in Pinterest. Like it doesn't, I'm on YouTube if I can't figure out how to do something. Like it does not take me very long at all to reach 7 or more platforms every single month, which is why when we talk about social media, we have to have a strategy for each of those platforms because people are using multiple platforms and we need to reach people where they are. So the reason that people use social media, the number one reason is keeping in touch with friends and family. And I, you know, again, personally, I feel that, you know, bear out. You want to fill your spare time, right? You're waiting in line at the DMV. You're finding products that you want to purchase. We're seeing huge growth in that area, especially through the TikTok shop and those kinds of things. Maybe you're watching a live stream or you're on LinkedIn making new contacts. Now, the one thing that you will see on this list is that there is no percentage of people who go to social media because they want to be sold to. That's not what people are looking for. They are, however, interested in seeing content from their favorite brands, about 22.7%. And I would actually extend that beyond just brands to include charitable organizations as well. One of the last, this was updated by one of my colleagues, and the following their favorite nonprofits kind of fell off the list. And so that used to be somewhere around 16%. So there are, you know, out of those billions of people online, there are a huge percentage of them that are connecting with social media in order to connect with charitable organizations that they like and trust. So again, another reason why we have to be there. 55% of people who engage with nonprofits on social media end up taking some kind of action, whether that is signing up for a newsletter, volunteering, making a donation. That's usually the big one. Of that 55% who took some sort of action, 59% of those who took action actually donated money. So again, we've got good reasons why we want to invest in social media. And 53% of people who participate in charitable events do so because of social media. So all of these are the reasons why we have got to invest time, energy, money, all of those things into a social media strategy. Now, I would be remiss for a lot of reasons if I didn't at least mention the fact that your website needs to tie so closely to your social media. Your website is going to be the secret weapon. Your appeal campaign, your search engine, all of your, you know, a lot of your social media posts, your email marketing, your blog posts, everything that you have needs to have a home on your website. And I'm not just saying that because Firespring creates nonprofit websites. It's the absolute truth. You've got to have a home that you own, that you can control, that you can direct people to from your social media. So if you don't have a website that is up to date and that does what you need it to do, that is actually going to be a key part of making sure that your social media is successful. I will sometimes get asked the question, why do I need a website? If I have all of this great social media presence, why do I need a website? This article, I can't remember. I think this is a Forbes magazine article. And the title says it all, right? We don't want to build our content home on rented land. we love social media, but it has some drawbacks. And part of that is the fact that we can't control when, where, who, and how our message is delivered. And so you've got to make sure that you have an evergreen home for your content to live, that then you can push out to your social media. But that's why it's really important that your website be a really critical thing that you've thought through as part of your social media strategy. So I'm going to jump off of that website soapbox right now, but I would be remiss if I hadn't started there. Okay, so this is going to be the content framework that you can start using immediately. Every organization should establish content pillars. And content pillars are going to be the way that you organize your content or the things that you're going to post about into themes. This is 5 just recommended content pillars. You can change these, you can adjust them, you can adapt them so that they reflect what is important to your organization and to your work. But this is a really good place to start. So your post should be really meant to engage. And I would say that engagement actually can cover each of these areas. And so if you want to, take one out and make engagement the focus of all of your content pillars, I can fully support that. But at the very least, you need to have some of your content that is really intended to engage your audience. You need to have some of your content that is meant to educate. And when I say educate, I'm not just talking about your organization. We don't just necessarily want them to know or be educated about us and the work that we do, but really about the larger missions that we have. We want to educate, if you're a homeless shelter, then let's educate people about homelessness. What are the causes of homelessness? What are, upcoming pieces of legislation that will impact our work? Let's educate about entire systems and about our community and the impact of our organization on the community. So when I talk about education, I'm not necessarily meaning we're going to go through each program that you have and educate people about that. We're going to educate people on a larger scale. Entertainment. I think this is one that we often overlook. I think sometimes we take ourselves way too seriously and we forget that part of the reason people go to social media is for a brain break. And so what can we provide that helps them? Is it an editorial cartoon? Is it some story that people can relate to? Is it a video clip that relates to our work? I was just this morning, fell down a rabbit hole watching an ESPN clip of a kid with autism. I think Orlovsky is the dad. He's an NFL player. He's an analyst on ESPN. He and his son were on ESPN, and it was absolutely moving. If I ran an autism organization, guarantee you I would be sharing that content today and connecting it to my work. Next is promotion. Now, a certain amount of what you're going to put out there is promotion. Come to our event, sign up for our newsletter, come volunteer with us, make a donation. So a certain amount is going to be promotion. And then finally, community. How does your community look different because your organization is here? What is the impact that you have on the larger community? If you weren't here, what would the community look like, right? So if you take each of those 5 areas and you plan your posts in each of those content areas, you can build out content for days. So content pillars are going to help you provide a framework that you can use. Now, here's the trick. I think you need to have a mix of content. And well, it's not really just me. Like this is proven out. We recommend an 80-20 rule at Firespring on your content mix. So 80% of what you're putting out should be educating people. It should be offering solutions to problems that they have. It should be entertaining them. It should be focused on bigger picture things. Only about 20% of what you are putting out on social media should be promotion related. So when you're planning your content pillars, make sure that 80% of what you're putting out is in those areas that are not promotion. Only 20% of what you're putting out is going to be promotion. Now, I will say the only exception that I will allow in that area is if you have an event coming up or there is something that is time specific. Then you might flip that just a little bit, and there may be a little bit more emphasis on promotion than on the other things. But once that event is over, you're going to go back to your original content mix, and you're going to try and stick as closely as you can to that 80-20 rule. Here is the thing. If I follow someone on social media and every single post that they have is give me, I need, I want, eventually I'm going to get tired, right? Because I want to, and I have run out of time and energy in order to do that. And so I think that there needs to be a number of posts that are put out there that are not about asking for anything. It's about educating, making connection, engaging our audiences, building relationships. Save the asks for the other 20% of your posts. You eventually people get really tired of constantly being asked for something. So we got to give a little bit of a break in there. Okay, a couple of takeaways. All of your posts should do everything that you can to provide value. Your engagement levels currently are telling you something. People are either telling you that they like your information that you're putting out and they're engaging with it, or they're telling you that what you are putting out does not provide value. If they're not engaging with your posts, if they're not commenting, if they're not liking or reacting to it, those kinds of things, then they're not seeing value. You have to find the sweet spot that allows you to provide value to your audience. Otherwise, there are tons of other organizations out there that they can follow. Next is you mix your content formats. So use popular formats like stories, which are, 24 hours, a story is there and then it goes away and it appears differently in the news feed. On Instagram, stories allow you to do some different things. Reels are essentially what we call video content. You need to have some video content with AI tools. There are some great things that you can do around like really cutting down larger content into smaller content, and reels are going to be really important. You definitely want to have photos whenever possible, and I'll talk a little bit about why photos get better traction here in a minute. Infographics are always great. GIFs, anything that switches it up. You don't want to just be posting text-based post after text-based post. You've got to really mix up your formats and what kind of media you are using with it. The other thing is I like to think about content nuggets. So the other day I did a series of posts on what was it about? I do series a lot. So I'll take one concept and maybe I have 5 key steps to that concept. Well, instead of posting the concept with all 5 steps, I'll do one post about the concept overall, and then I will do one post for each of the steps of the concept. That is a content nugget. That is taking what could be one post and done and extending it into multiple posts. So whenever possible, and plus it gets people to come back, right? It gets them interested in what you're talking about. They've maybe seen the first couple bits of it, and now they want to come back and see the third and fourth bits. So think whenever possible about content nuggets, especially if you're getting ready to write a post and it is this long, then I recommend that you figure out how you can break that up and create multiple pieces of content from one concept. So here is a list of things that you that I want you to think about when you're setting goals, and then I'm going to have some metrics for you. So the first thing that I see a lot of when I work with nonprofit clients around social media is that they are setting a lot of social media goals that are just for the sake of having a social media goal, right? And what I want to challenge you to think about is how can we set goals around social media that are tied to the goals that we have as a business or as an organization, right? So how can we tie our social media goals to our business goal? So for example, if your business goal is that you want to take people who just kind of follow you and are kind of lurking and hanging out there, and you want to turn them into advocates where they're sharing your content and those kinds of things, then your social media goal is going to be all about engagement. If your goal is to generate website traffic or to generate new, donor leads or volunteer leads, those kinds of things, if it's lead generation, then your social media goal is conversions. You want people to click on your link so that they will convert into being a volunteer or signing up for your newsletter, or whatever it is. If your goal is donor retention, then your social media goal is going to be both engagement and conversion, right? We want to get people to become donors, and then we want to engage, usually by thanking the donors that we have through social media. And if our goal is to grow our brand or to spread our mission, then our social media goal is awareness. But making sure that you don't just have an awareness goal on social media, but that goal is tied to a larger goal within the organization and within sort of the business structure of running a nonprofit. And so I think it's really important that if you're going to look at metrics, and here I have 12 of them that you can consider tracking. I'm not going to go over each of these in detail. We'll get you a copy of the slides, but I think that if you're going to track these things, then you've got to make sure that these metrics are tied to business goals, right? They're tied to the larger things that you're trying to accomplish as an organization. Social media needs to be a part of that, not separate from it and not its own thing. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about algorithms. And this might be really basic for some of you that are the TikTok influencers. So bear with me for just a second. For those of you who are novices and you're trying to figure things out, an algorithm is a process by which a platform uses to determine the likelihood that someone is going to see your content and that they're going to interact with it. And it's based on a set of constantly changing rules. Again, this is why we don't build our home on rented land. I've seen organizations build up wonderful followings, and through no fault of their own, Facebook gets something misconstrued, deletes their account, and they can never get it back. It is tragic and painful, and it chokes me up. Like, it makes me want to cry every time I think about those organizations that have been in that role. Which is why we've got to invest time and energy in our social media, but we also have to have a larger presence out there, and why we need to have social media on multiple platforms and not just a single one. We don't want to be at the mercy of the algorithm. Here's why I talk about algorithm, because at the end of the day, quality is going to trump quantity every time. So as an organization, I encourage you to focus on engagement. If people share your content, if they like it, if they, heart and they react to it and all of those things, you're going to show up no matter what the algorithm and no matter what the platform. So engagement and quality interactions on your social media posts will always trump quantity. I would much rather see an organization that posts 2 times a week and has great engagement and has a really, connected audience than to see an organization that has, a whole bunch of posts, 2 or 3 every day, 5 days a week. You give me quality over quantity any day of the week, because that's how you best any algorithm, no matter what the algorithm is or how much they change. So, when we do the full extended version of this, I actually spend a lot of time going over each of these, what we consider kind of the top social media platforms for nonprofits. I'm not going to necessarily do that today. I just, wanted to say these are the ones we focus on. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are the three primary that we almost always recommend. And I would say that if you're looking for one to really invest in, that chances are you're not investing in right now, LinkedIn is the sleeper. That is the hidden giant right now. It is no longer just a place where you put resumes. It is really growing and booming and doing some great things. So if you have to invest energy and time in building out a new platform, I recommend you make it LinkedIn. Okay. And oh boy, X. I could spend an entire 40 minutes just talking about the dumpster fire that is X. I don't say there's nothing political in that statement. Here's the thing, the issue that we have with X. We don't know who the audience is right now. We don't know. The algorithms are kind of always changing. There's not a lot of stability on that platform right now. It's changed pretty significantly over the last 24 months. And I don't think it's as reliable as it used to be. And it's always had some inherent challenges with character limitations and chronological news feeds and those kinds of things. So if that's where your audience is and you have the best following and the best engagement on X, then 2 thumbs up for you, keep at it. But if you're wondering where to invest time and energy, that is not necessarily where I would probably encourage you to put it. TikTok is great if you have the time, the energy, and the skill set to be able to do what you need to do with it, and not every organization has that. So I think if you can build an audience there, it certainly leads to conversions. It is certainly a great spot for engaging with influencers and connecting with younger audiences. I personally love TikTok. I think it's a great platform. But if that's not where your audience is, and if that is not the platform that you have the time, energy, or just ability or stamina to keep up with, then just because a platform exists does not mean you have to be there. And you can tell that board member who keeps chirping about needing a TikTok account that I said that. So if that is where your audience is and that's where you want to be, then 100% go for it. But if the math just isn't mathing on the time and energy that goes into maintaining and staying current on that platform, then it's probably the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So that's my take on all of those. Again, if you want a more in-depth analysis of my recommendations for social media platforms, come check out the larger Bootcamp, because I don't have time to get into all of those things today. So signals that will affect your news feed content rankings. Again, this is about engagement. So what all of the algorithms are looking for is the average amount of time that people spend on your content. Are they coming? Are they watching the video? How much of the video are they watching? Are they reading the full caption on your photos? Are people coming in and engaging? Are they liking? Are they hearting? Are they showing any kind of reaction to your posts? If there are multiple replies to comments on a video, that means that video is going to get delivered more often to your other followers. When it is posted, how quickly are people commenting or liking or engaging with your content? LinkedIn is getting really specific about this right now. The algorithm on LinkedIn currently is that the more interaction happens with your post in the first 10 minutes after it has been posted, then the more that your post is going to get delivered to the rest of your audience. So on LinkedIn, they're like time limiting it. 10 minutes is about what you have. Now, they also like to see posts that even 2 or 3 days later have people engaging with your content, because then they think that that content is valuable and they'll continue to deliver it. So even the timing of when and the comments and the engagement matters. The story type also matters. And so, are people, when someone shares your post, are other people engaging with it? That's going to tell people how informative and how valuable that post is. So these are some signals that you want to keep looking for when you are, assessing the success of your social media. I'm not going to go through each of these things in detail. This is just a list of some social media targets, kind of gives you a little bit of information about the sort of the generic, statistics and demographics on each of these social platforms. I take a little bit of stock in this. I think it's interesting. I use it somewhat to inform the decisions that I make. However, your own information that you can find in the background of the business manager and the content creation tools that are available on those platforms, whether it's Meta or LinkedIn or whatever it is, that information is going to trump this information all the time. You can go in the back end, you can get a breakdown on gender, you can get a breakdown sometimes even on profession, you can find out when they're most active online, all of those things. So I would say trust your own data before these generic social targets. But if you're just now building a social media platform and you don't have your own data to rely on, then you can always come to a source like this. I'm going to say the exact same message for the best time to post. I have here the best times to post on Facebook. Then I have the best times to post on LinkedIn. And then we have the best times to post on Instagram. All of that to say that this is general, generic data, right? This is not about your audience. So if you're just now starting to post on Instagram, for instance, then I would say, plan your posts for Wednesdays at 11 and Fridays at 10 a.m. Just, be really conscious about when you're going to post. I think that using your own data just makes more sense. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Using your own data is always going to be more successful for you than relying on old or existing data. Okay, so here are 5 tips that we have for optimizing your social media presence. This is a complete no-brainer. You're going to use great content, and you're going to find a way to make that content look good. So use a tool like Canva that will allow you to create, borders or, help you to have a common color palette for your photos so that everything looks cohesive. And you can use other tools out there to help enhance your content. If you don't have a Canva Pro account, premium, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's free for nonprofits. Every nonprofit should have a free Canva account. Then, keep in mind that, again, this goes back to varying your content. So photo posts are going to receive 53% more likes than a text-based post. It's going to get 104% more comments, and it's going to get 84% more click-throughs than text-based posts. I think that whenever possible, you need to be using some kind of photo. I think photo, video, polls, something that goes a step beyond just a text-based post. These are the things that engage people. Text-based posts are easy to scroll over the top of, and there's nothing to capture your attention and get you to slow down. And so I'm just a huge, huge believer that you've got to have great photos and varied content with your posts. Next is engagement. Question posts receive 100 times more engagement than statement posts. That's because if you're posting a statement, there's nothing there's really no reason for people to engage, right? There's no reason for people to come into your feed and to engage with that information. And so using a question is always going to be helpful. If a supporter mentions you positively in a post, share it on your Facebook page or share it on your LinkedIn page. Anytime someone else is endorsing your organization through a comment or a like or an engagement, something like that, then share that. One of the top 5 reasons why Facebook fans will unlike or unfollow a Facebook page is because the organization never responds to their comments. So if someone comes on and comments on your social media, you need to be using that as an opportunity to engage and not just glossing over that. You also need to make sure that as an organization, you know your own voice. You know how your brand talks about itself. You know the tones that you use on each of the different social media platforms. And these are some good questions that you can ask yourself and your team. I always emphasize this, especially for organizations who may have multiple people in control of their social media accounts. So if you have control of your social media account, your executive director has control, your program manager has control, everybody has control of the social media, then you have to make sure that everyone is using a consistent voice and tone. Otherwise, we're undermining trust that people have in our organizations because they don't know who they're speaking to. So you've got to make sure you're using a consistent voice and tone, and that's going to be a huge part of building up that trust. We also want to be transparent. So, anytime you can use social media as an opportunity to build trust with your followers, with your constituents, that is going to be really important. And part of how you do that is responding quickly to both positive and negative feedback and being really proactive. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but if you want more information about how to respond to negative feedback on your social channels, that's day 2 of the extended bootcamp. Then we also want to be consistent. So posting consistently is going to be how we stay top of mind and how we gain large followerships. You can use the embedded posting tools that people have in the Meta Business Suite or LinkedIn. You can schedule posts. However, be aware that the social media platforms allow you to schedule posts, but they don't like it when you schedule posts. Scheduled posts often get less viewership, less engagement than posts that are made spontaneously. I recommend, instead of using a tool like that, that you plan out all of your posts in advance and you make yourself calendar reminders. So all you have to do is cut and paste the information that goes into that post at that time. I think that is a better way to give the platform the appearance of live posting, but have an easier time of it for you. 42% of nonprofits attribute social media success to having a detailed strategy. I always tell people it is best to have a plan and work the plan than constantly trying to decide like what you're going to post about and where and when and all of those things. So I have some additional social media resources for you here. If you're just looking for general information, if you want more opinions that are not just mine about social media, you can certainly come on here and you can learn a ton from these different resources about social media. So your action steps. First of all, make a great impression with your website. That's going to be key. You want to make sure that you have identified who your audiences are. Who are you talking with, and what are the goals that you have for each of those audiences? And that's part of your strategy. Then we're going to create content pillars that align with those audiences and goals and give us that framework for how and when to post and why. And then we're going to make sure that the content is a mix of 80-20, education, entertainment, engagement versus just, promotion and asking for things. And you're going to research and adjust based on current algorithms. Those algorithms change all the time. And so follow a few really trusted sources of people that stay current on algorithms, and then use their advice to adjust your technique and strategy. and you can keep learning. Firespring has a ton of education available. Please come attend any of our webinars. We share free education all the time, as do our great friends at CharityEngine as well. And you wear a lot of hats, so you want marketing tools that work as well as you do. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our website. Firespring has a great website tool. It is a fantastic solution that organizations can use to manage your online presence. I came to Firespring because I was a client. So I've spent most of my career in nonprofit management and fundraising, and I had Firespring websites at the last 3 nonprofits I ran or worked for. And so I am just a huge, huge proponent of our system. If you want to take a look at it, no strings attached. We would love to give you a demo or talk to you about our sites. And then you can always go to firespring.com/webinars and find a list of our webinars. And that takes me to your slide. So I'll turn it over to you, and then we can talk some questions.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Kiersten. I really appreciate everything that you've gone through. And, even as a marketer myself, there are some things that I saw in today's presentation that really resonated with me. And I think a lot of times we don't really think about the distribution of the content mix, how much content should be self-promotional versus that is purely, educational or entertainment, or kind of falls into those different buckets, if you will. And I think, even CharityEngine, we think about this all the time and making sure that we're putting good content out there. I did have a question about exactly this distribution, but let me just highlight this, and then we'll jump into questions. So in the spirit of offering something educational, we are giving out a special offer today this is just for those who are attending today. And if you've attended our webinars in the past, you'll notice we always like to include a little giveaway for our audiences. This is completely obligation free. You do not have to be in the market for a CRM or a fundraising platform. This is purely an educational giveaway. So what we're offering is a 20-minute consultation of your donation form. One of our experts will connect with you and provide you an assessment of your donation form. There is a kind of a rubric that they go through where they look at your content, your placement, your digital wallets, all kinds of things that contribute to conversion of that form, how your form is placed on your website. And, I'm not even an expert in this area, but the people that we're going to connect you with are. And so if this is something of interest, we are giving out 5 slots. Feel free to scan this QR code. There's a little form. You can book a call with one of our folks. And hopefully our goal here is just to offer you some quick fixes around how to optimize your donation form. And I think a lot of what we talked about today, 80% of the content, like Kiersten, you were saying, really should be less about self-promotion, but more about engaging effectively. But when we engage effectively and we open up the opportunity for ourselves to make that ask, once in a while, that other bucket of 20%, I think what we want to make sure is that we're sending people to a form that's optimized, that is likely to convert. And so with that in mind, I think that's kind of where our thinking is here. And I hope certainly that our audience takes advantage of this. Let me get back to questions. So I know we had a few. Speaking about the 80%, I had a question, I think it was from Megan. She's asking about how we might qualify that 80%. So I think what she's getting at, if you include an ask on those 80%, posts, is that considered, other bucket, or would we still qualify that as kind of the 20%? Can you kind of, wiggle in an ask in the education or other content mix?
I would tend to say no. I think if there's an ask, it becomes promotional. Mm-hmm. If the ask is something like, give us a heart if you support XYZ, if that's what you're asking for, is some kind of engagement, that is okay. If what you're asking for is volunteer, donate, those kinds of larger asks where you're wanting time or money or some sort of a resource from people, then I consider that promotion. If every single time I get something from a nonprofit, there's an ask in it, eventually I get really weary. There is a nonprofit in Lincoln that I love dearly. I support their work. I think they do great things, but they have gotten in the habit of every time they send me a newsletter to update me about everything they've accomplished, there's an envelope inside and there's always an ask. And so to me, every time now that you send me something, you are expecting me to do something in return. And that relationship is one-sided. And no one wants to be in a one-sided relationship where you're the one always giving and you're not ever receiving anything. Donor relationships are no different. Sometimes we have to give them things without expectation of receiving something in return. So I think that if you're really about building community and building relationships on social, then I think you really have to not include that ask. There are some times that you're going to post, that you're going to engage with people without asking for a donation or some kind of commitment.
I agree with you there. I think, an ask in disguise is still an ask ultimately. And so I think, striking that balance is really important. I did have another question coming in from Sasha. So Sasha it looks like they're a small marketing team, and they're saying, what's a realistic, let me see here. What's a realistic posting cadence for a small team with limited resources? Now, Kiersten, I know you talked about importance of regularity, but what does that look like? What's a good cadence that we should aim for with a small team?
So I've worked on small teams most of my career, like teams of 5 or 10 or, very, very, or even I've been a 1-person team. I've been a 2-person team. So like, I feel this deeply, this question. I would say you want to pick a couple of platforms to focus on. And then the goal should be posting on those platforms at least 2 to 3 times a week. But again, we're going to post quality stuff that gets engagement. So at the beginning of every quarter, I would plan out what your posts are going to be for the next 3 months, what days you're going to post on what channels, and what you're going to post. So let's say on Tuesday, you're going to post on Instagram about a policy that's going through the legislature. Then the following Thursday, you can repurpose that post and post it on your Facebook. So that way you're not posting the same thing on the same platforms every day, but you're still only creating the content once. And then just create a schedule. So I would probably do it so that at least 3 or 4 days a week, there's going to be a social media post on some platform. But ideally, at the beginning of the quarter, you've gotten everything written and organized for the entire quarter. I will tell you that that's how we do it for our clients where we manage social media. And those organizations that I see really killing it on social media and doing awesome stuff, that's how they're doing it. They're planning it out at least a quarter at a time, and they're varying that content. They're reusing content from one platform to another. So I would, but again, I think at the end of the day, 2 to 3 times a week to build that consistency.
That makes all the sense. I think also a lot of times if you have a small team, it's good, or if you're trying to scale it, it's good to start with maybe one platform and then kind of build on it. And I liked how you talked about maybe LinkedIn being a starting place. If you have to pick one, start with LinkedIn. And I know from my side of the aisle, we've been seeing a lot of LinkedIn kind of expand beyond just, career networking. Can you just share a little more about what you're seeing in nonprofit space and how they're using LinkedIn?
Yeah, I am seeing LinkedIn really being slotted in the role of thought leadership development. So when organizations and the leaders in particular of organizations are trying to establish their organizations, they're trying to build trust, they're building relationships, LinkedIn is a great place to do that with decision makers and people who are, people that you want to influence and that you want to build relationships with. And so I think that that is a great place to post about issues related to your cause, about the larger community. It's a great place to post about impact. I've even seen some success. I'm a former executive director for the Big Brothers Big Sisters affiliate in Lincoln. And they right now, as an organization, are just killing mentor recruitment on LinkedIn, because they're connecting with people in a more professional or business environment. They're getting people to think about things a little differently. And because they're educating around mentorship in general, they're connecting that mentorship to business success. And then they're asking for those volunteers in that same space. They're doing really well. So I think that, you pick one platform and have a strategy. But I think LinkedIn is just a great place to build thought leadership, to reinforce organizational values, to build trust with your audience in a way that I just don't see it happening on other platforms in the same way that I see it right now on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. I think we're close to our time here, Kiersten. My team is messaging me. I apologize if you could hear me typing. I was just told to mute myself. I hope that wasn't too distracting for our audience. But what they want me to tell you guys is, if you mind going back just one slide, we had 4 people fill out the little form. We do have 1 slot left. So if there's any last minute takers, and they're telling me some notes they want me to highlight. So we're looking at 6 different areas in your form. We're looking at it from visibility, design, monthly giving, trust signal, payment recovery, conversion, and more. So again, if this is of interest, it's really nothing to lose, everything to gain situation. Feel free to take advantage. We'll take a look at your forms, give you a little bit of some quick tips you can implement right away, and hopefully get you to a place where your form is converting better once you use social media to get your audiences, your donors to land there.
Absolutely. You want to go to all the work of getting your social media to drive people to your donation site, and then have a donation site that isn't set up to do what you need it to do. So I think this is an awesome opportunity for people to just have somebody take a look and give you some suggestions on your donation site. So awesome.
Kiersten, as we wrap up here, I just wanted to give you a chance. Tell our audiences what's the best way to reach you in case they would like to connect with you after the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think LinkedIn's probably the best way to connect with me directly. You can always drop into DMs and send me questions or interact with me there as well. And I do post pretty regularly. So I'm trying to live what I preach and do 2-3 times a week. And a lot about storytelling and marketing and fundraising and relationship building, those kinds of things. So please give me a follow there. And then you can also reach out to me at Firespring. You can learn more about our products for nonprofits, website tools, all of those things at firespring.com/nonprofit. But all of that is there. And if you scan that QR code, we'll get you links to all of that stuff as well. And thank you guys so much. First time I've spoken on your platform and been with your team, and it's been a lot of fun. I've learned about a whole new platform and some other things. So really appreciate it and happy to have the opportunity to be with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and providing great content. To everybody who's here today, thank you for joining. We will be following up with an email with today's recording, including the slides. Kiersten, thank you again. Everyone, have a wonderful day.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Take care.